Hey, welcome back to the Real Estate Excellence Podcast. Today, we're diving into the world of top-tier real estate expertise with a guest who has built an impressive career through hard work, market knowledge, and unwavering commitment to her clients. She's a top producing agent with Ponte Vedra Club Realty, helping buyers and sellers across Northeast Florida, from first-time homebuyers to multi-million-dollar estates, with a focus on communication, responsiveness, and transparency. Her journey began in property management, where she developed a deep understanding for investment properties before spending 6 years with one of the largest investment companies in the country. If you're an agent looking to elevate your game, or a buyer and seller searching for an expert who truly goes above and beyond, this episode is for you. Let's welcome Jessica Swearingen to the show.
Hi, I'm so happy to be here.
Yes, thank you for coming down this morning. And this rain here we have in Jacksonville.
Yeah.
But it's always good. Got to fill the retention ponds, right? I appreciate you coming on, and I want to kick off a little bit because you have something that you're very passionate about. You were telling me you started about a year and a half ago, and it's the St. John's BFF. Tell us a little bit about that.
So my partner and I, we both started St. John's BFF. It stands for Business, Faith, and Friendship. It pretty much encompasses a lot of things that women need, which is friendship, faith, or business. And we want to support each other and, put spotlights on other businesses as well, because when you're helping others, usually they return the favor. So it's a good way to start building a community and do life with other women.
Do you guys have a goal? Because you just had a pretty big event you were telling me about. Do you have so many events? You do it once a quarter, or how often do you meet?
We have a website, stjohnsbff.com, and we actually have an event each week.
Oh, wow.
We do a luncheon 1 week, and that is up to about 100 to 130 women that can go to that. That's $45 a ticket, but we do cut off the ticket because we cut off the link because we can only fit so many people in that room, and it's in St. John Golf and Country Club.
So you have it regularly there?
Yes, monthly.
Oh, okay. I did not. Okay.
Yeah, every single month. We stay very consistent with our location and our events. We do a luncheon, and we do a chicks and coffee, which is free. About 50 women or so come to that one time a month. It's every month on a Wednesday. And then we do a mix and mingle, which is in the evening. You can bring your husband to that. That's the only one men can come to. So we have
the bodyguards at the door. Yeah. No men allowed.
Yeah, no men allowed. Unless you wear a wig, we might let it
go. So what is the goal of the organization? What are you trying to accomplish?
The goal, initially, I can tell you, it's funny how things work out. When Jack and I had started this, we thought we'll just do a luncheon, and she and I just wanted to create a group where we could share our businesses. So our first luncheon was only 16 women, and we didn't really know what we were doing. And then the next month, they each brought a friend, it seems, and before you know it, we had started with 17 women, and then it was 30 women, 50. Now we're up to like 130 women. So on our website, we have preferred vendors and all sorts of things. We just did a BFF cruise. That was fun. All of us went on a cruise together.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, we're going to be on the cover of St. Augustine Lifestyle magazine next month. So we're just really trying to get exposure with other businesses and really help other women that we're all in the same boat together and want to.
Well, I'm just amazed, and literally, like you said, you've only been doing it a year and a half.
Yeah, just a year and a half. It's all been organic.
You have 5,200 ladies signed up.
Local in the Facebook group, yes.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. That is. Now, are they paying are the members paying a little fee to?
That's a good question. Mm-hmm. So a lot of groups do have that. We do not. You, as a woman, can join our group. If you want to be a preferred vendor, we have 100 of those right now. You can get spotlighted on our website and our email blast that goes out each week, and our Instagram. Depending on the package you choose, we will, put light on your business. If you prefer to be more than just a member, you could be a preferred vendor.
Right.
Yep.
Now, can a man do that?
Yes, you can be a preferred
vendor. A man
vendor.
can give you money.
Yeah, a man can give us money. We just don't want you around too much.
But now that sponsorship money is being used for?
The preferred vendor money, it goes towards things like keeping our website going, our events. This coming Friday, we have a huge preferred vendor party that we're actually just showing like how much we appreciate our preferred vendors. Mm-hmm. We're going to have exotic animals there, a fire dancer. It's going to be on the river. And not even all our preferred vendors could go to that because there's only limited space. We only had 100 people that could go, and they sold out in a week.
Remind me after the show because I got an idea for you, and I think you're really going to
Okay.
enjoy that for your group because I mean, I think that's just amazing to attract that many people in such a brief period of time. So you must be giving a huge amount of value.
Yeah, we don't pay for one ad. I can tell you everything's
Yeah.
been organically grown.
Well, just to have that many followers so
Yeah,
quickly
it's
is
a need.
is really
Yeah, there
definitely
was a need for that.
definitely there. All right, if I can do my little commercial here, as
Okay.
I do every Remy Graphics makes these nice laser engraved mugs for me. It's got the show logo. You've got a hot pink one in your bag right next to
Oh,
you there.
how'd you know I like top pink?
So it'll fit in. They do all types of laser engraved gifts at remygraphics.com. So go on there and check it out. They will do one-offs. So if you're just like maybe you're giving an award out or an appreciation at one of your BFF events, you can have it. She'll make one or two if that's all you need.
I love it.
So yeah. So
This is our color
remygraphics.com.
for the BFF.
Yeah.
Hot pink.
Perfect. You're a Florida native.
Yes, born and raised here.
Yeah. Tell us about where'd you grow up? Where'd you go to high school?
You know, I grew up in Arlington. I'm not scared of anything. I grew up in Arlington. I went to school for art. I went to Douglas Anderson. I was actually designed the floor of the Jacksonville airport floor in 2004. So that big mural that you walk over that used to have the rocking chairs and the piano, that's my design. So I'm very artistic. I did not do one sport. I only did.
They sanctioned it out to the high schools to come up with designs
They
for
did,
that?
yeah, and I
Wow.
won. So it was a drawing that they asked us to submit our drawings and our ideas, and
Well, I'm going to have to take a greater
look.
look at that the next
my
time
name's
I'm
in
in.
the plaque right there by the golf store. It says Jessica Farmer, my maiden name, but it was in 2004. We got to pick
Wow.
the murals and meet with them and decide which mural would go for like our design. So it was me and two of my other classmates. We decided to submit our drawing together.
What was I don't even know because I haven't really paid attention. But what was what's like the theme? What was your thought about when you were creating it? What you wanted it to say?
I wasn't even going to do this. This part I didn't want to know. I feel like the chances of me winning, right? I wasn't going to do it, but I did, and I thought, what represents Northeast Florida? We have Florida Panther, we have surfers, we have oranges. The downtown buildings you'll see are in there. We have the alligator, what else do we have? Dragonflies, and anything that represents Northeast Florida. Those are designs there. I think now they have this security system. Like line there, but used to be where they had the piano and the rocking chairs, and it's still there. It's just some of it's covered.
Right. Yeah, they did redo the security there. I went through there a couple weeks ago.
But that's my background is art.
Your background is art. So as a young Jessica, you're 18, 19 years old. What are you envisioning yourself doing at this time? Did you go on to college?
I did. I went to school for fashion design and marketing, and I wanted to be a fashion designer and live in Long Beach, California. And, God had different plans. I got very sick, really, really sick, to where I could barely dress myself. I was diagnosed with rheumatoid arthritis, and I had to move back home from school, and it was devastating because I didn't know what to do. I had this huge school loan, and now I could barely dress myself. So it was really depressing for me. And I thought, I cannot go back to school and get another loan. What can I do quickly? So I got my real estate license, not sure what I would do with it. And
Did someone in real estate, or how did that actually?
I have a lot of family in real estate.
You do?
Yes,
Okay.
both my parents, my brother-in-law, my sister-in-law, my father-in-law. So I thought, if they can do it, I can do it. So I did. I got my license. It was not hard. I took it one time, passed the test, and started property management. Yeah.
That's now your rheumatoid. You overcame that.
I still
I'm
struggle
still
with
using.
that,
Yeah.
but I'm very health conscious. I'm a little extreme with it, so I have a lot of
Is that a diet type thing?
diet. I'm very strict about what I eat and my supplements. And if you came to my house, it's like a spa. I have an infrared sauna and a cold plunge and a red light and everything.
Right. 'Cause of course I didn't get it till I was in my 40s, but gout is what I deal with. So
yeah, very
it can be
it's very
debilitating.
similar.
Yeah, at times you can't even walk, and you feel like you broke your ankle sometimes when it's that type of thing, or when it gets in the big toe is almost severe.
I would get it in my jaw, and I couldn't eat or turn my head. I couldn't lift my arm to even get a cup out of the cabinet.
Oh wow!
And they told me when I was 19 I would be crippled in 5 years based off it said how inflamed it was.
Wow!
And I'm 38 and I look fine because I'm very determined.
And regimented on your keeping the diet correctly. All right, so I think you said was it Watson who you went with
I
first?
started at Watson, yeah, as a
Okay.
property
Was
manager.
your relatives there, or why did you m- end up
Um,
rolling in that direction?
no, they weren't in that office, but they were at a different Watson location.
Okay, so
Yes.
they were with Watson,
Yes.
and they had an opportunity in the property management.
Right.
Okay. What did I think we all can imagine what property managers
Do it.
do,
Yeah.
not necessarily say we have experience, but just can imagine some of the experiences because we hear some of the horror stories and so forth. But as you're jumping into that cold plunge of real estate and you're jumping into the property management side.
Yeah.
Tell us, like, what was your initial reaction there? I mean, did you learn something about yourself or learn something about people?
Yeah, I learned trying to keep the tenant happy and the owner happy is a very, very tightrope walk. I learned about things I didn't know, even with the homes. I'm like, I know where the AC unit is, but 24, I'm learning.
Right.
I'm trying to sell them. I can manage your property, and confidence is really what leads you to places.
Yeah.
You walk in confident, you'll be fine.
Is that something you had to basically learn through some trial and error?
I learned quickly, and my manager that was over me, he was so impressed with how quickly I did it. He ended up giving me the properties he had. So I started with a lot of properties within just the first 2 months.
Well, eventually we're going to dig into grit, but I think that's right there is even a story of grit because a lot of people, 24 years old, would have said, "Oh man, yeah, I don't know a lot. I don't know a lot about real estate. Maybe this isn't for me,and gone and done something else."
Yeah.
But you
I will overcome any
perceived through
challenge.
it,
Yes.
yeah, yeah. But even with your family in the business, they I assume weren't in the property
No,
management
they
side.
weren't in property management. They were in sales, and at that time, sales was terrible. That was in 2011 or 2012, and so they weren't making much money. And I was pregnant, and I needed something consistent. So
Right.
I went into property management because that's one thing with property management. It's not much, but it is consistent because you're getting percentage each
All
month.
right, I'm going to throw you on the spot with this one if you can dig deep in your mind, but I imagine it's probably a story you probably think about or tell often. What is like give us a real one of your real shocking horror stories of your experience.
Oh, there's been so many. One of my horror stories is walking into a home and a squatter's there. I know that's not where you're going with it, but
Yeah.
I have walked into
That's
a man running out the back door. I'm glad he ran out the back door, but it was still scary. I had one
Right.
where I was doing a move-out inspection and a cat jumped out of the cabinet. They left their cat. I couldn't believe it. I've had some where I've gone to show a house and I knocked on the wrong door with the clients because the box wasn't on there. I mean, there's just so many that it's probably good that I don't remember every one of them. It's a little traumatic. Sometimes it's traumatic.
Well, as a woman, also, some of those experiences, though, from a safety standpoint, it's the first thing you thought when you said a man ran out.
Yeah.
Think he ran out
I
the back door.
definitely carry.
Yeah. Okay. So that's. I think that needs to be. I have a friend of mine who has his own. He used to work with Gavin DeBecker and who wrote The Gift of Fear. I don't know if you
Yeah.
ever read that book, but just how our intuition and women are better at it than men.
Right.
But their intuition that something's not right. I'm not comfortable here.
Yeah, then I usually will open the door and let them walk in, and I wait by the front door because I've had that happen a few times.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I stay outside.
That's remind me maybe a topic for one of your BFF groups. I have someone that might
okay.
be a very legit person to come in and talk about
Yeah.
personal safety.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah. All right, so you're doing some property management. How does your career move from there? Because leave Watson eventually.
Yep, I leave Watson. My manager and I worked very well together, and he was leaving for an investment company opportunity. And a year later, he called me and said, they have an opening, and I would love for you to come over here, because he saw how hard I worked as a property manager. And I thought, oh my gosh, this is a corporate job. I really don't want that. But
Watson didn't give you the corporate atmosphere?
No. They think they do, but I still had that flexibility of going home with my kids when I needed to. And that was important because I had 2 babies at the time. But
Right.
yeah, I did end up going to work for an investor after property management because I was over property management.
So now we talked a little bit about pre-show because I wanted a little background on there to create some good questions for you. This is a company wants to come in or I guess they've been here a year because your boss had moved locally with them. They're coming in and buying, renovating, and holding homes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They were buying up so many homes. They even bought neighborhoods and started purchasing neighborhoods. So they would have just a rental neighborhood, very common in Orange Park and Northside area. Even Middleburg, they started doing that. But yeah, it was a growing company called Progress Residential. They buy with cash, and they are only meant to be leased homes. And they want an agent who's going to take the pictures, put the sign out there, show the house, meet with the acquisition team that flies from the corporate headquarters to decide on rental prices. You learn everything about, what the fees are for the pets, if they are allowed pets, and what insurance is, and if they can have the emotional service animals legally, if it can be, service animals. So a lot of sales agents don't even entertain rentals now. I still do because I know it so well, and you never know who someone knows. So I will be glad to show a rental.
I think, my wife's a perfect example. I mean, because we have several, and, she's an agent, and she's gotten a lot of referrals. And where some of our units are, they can do short-term rentals. So it's great if they're coming into town, they're looking, they don't know yet, so they're going to they can rent for 3, 4, 5, 6 months, or whatever. And that's, they're looking or waiting for their house to be finished, and then they're referring you to other friends and family coming in the area. I think it's a great referral source.
I do too.
To come, but from your aspect now doing full-time, retail real estate agent stuff, not only to be able to have those conversations, when you do get that phone call from that person that says, hey, I'm looking for an investment property. I mean, that experience is just, you just probably just flow right into it.
Yeah, it's very natural for me to be able to answer questions about rentals and what areas are going to do better and what price point. If you're spending top dollar on purchasing a home somewhere and your rental price isn't going to really cover your mortgage right now, I would definitely point you in other areas that would be beneficial.
I imagine you have a kind of because your reputation doing that, your name's gotten around from people calling in. Or are you using that DSCR product from a lending standpoint, or are you finding most of these guys are cash?
Yeah, quite a few are cash, but I do have a few friends that are like, well, we could take, a HELOC. And I'm like, well, the interest is really high on that. I don't know if that's smart, but I'm not a loan officer. I can just tell you from my experience that may not be financially smart. But, I definitely think that I do tend to get a lot of calls on that, and I would like to focus more on sales, but I want to be able to help those when they have questions on rentals, because like I said, you never know who someone knows, so it's a good way to get more business. Right.
Well, it's a great way to build value with them. We were talking about your organization there and building value, being that resource, being that, I call it concierge. I think real estate agents, I think a concierge is a lot of times what you guys are, and being able that you want them to depend on you, because when the time does come that they're buying something, or they know a friend who's buying and selling, they're going to refer you. All right. So I want to go a little deeper into, so for the listeners, so they understand that what the group that you were working with there's groups like that around and still in town. In this case, they were buying in leasing, but have over time, was there strategies to buy, lease for a period of time, let the equity growth, and then sell? What was their actual strategy?
They plan on holding tight to those for quite a while. And I know all the competitors, Main Street, I know American Homes for Rent. I could tell you all the different ones, Nest Finders. I mean, that's not huge, that's a small owner, but I know what each one's policies are on pets and their fees, application fees, leasing fees, things like that.
But I mean, some of them, they have different strategies. Like in this case, when you work,
it's meant to be a rental.
They were looking long term, and actually the rental business. Now, you weren't doing property management for them. You were just
leasing,
doing the initial lease, and then they had another management company come in and actually handle them after that.
There's a different department that manages it. Me as a leasing agent, I would have about 50 to 70 actual move-ins each month, and I had to weed through hundreds of leads. It's very, very high turnover, and follow-up is everything. And so I can say that's drilled in my mind that I'm the best follow-up person there ever is, because I'm like, oh, that person I need to follow up with their birthday. Their dog died. I need to check on them. So I literally am the best follow-up person, because I'm so drilled with corporate documentation of how many times they were touched with email, text, and call. And that's how I run my business now.
So you're handling 50, 60, 70 move-ins a month.
Yes.
So you were the point person on, someone applies, hey, I'm looking for a place to stay. Okay, well, I've got a couple of units. Let's go out and see which ones you like. Gave you a lot of reps that obviously probably makes you very polished when you go out and show someone a home today, or
you would get shopped. We would have shoppers come and shop us. I was the first one that passed the shopping out of our office. I don't know why. I guess because I just really wanted to get that home leased.
Right.
So, and I started to, getting like, that person looks like a spotter, like a shopper.
A shopper.
But, I just was, I'm now, I know how to show a house and walk it through, and I'm not pushy at all. If it's something you're not feeling, I'm like, let's go. I got another one. Like, I'm not here to.
You pick up on their body language right away.
I can tell you don't like it. Let's not even waste any more time here. There's another one you're going to like better.
Yeah.
And we get out of there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You probably, well, maybe you have thought about this, but my initial thought is, for the agents that are listening, what are some of the things that you, in your lot of reps that you were getting and presenting these homes, even though renter or buyer, I don't think there's, obviously there's a different approach to it, but some of the basic things that you were doing when you presented, either prep the home for presentation, because I imagine if you had an empty unit, you were going in there and making sure.
Make sure it's clean and tidy. We check on it.
Yeah. Right. What are some of the basic things that you felt maybe you were doing, or if you look back that you were doing that made you successful and obviously passing it?
Keeping notes on people, like that one doesn't have a fenced-in yard. That's not going to work. This one, it has a 3-room and a bonus. You can't close this in for a fourth bedroom. So I really knowing where you're going, not just walking in and be like, oh, I didn't even know this was here. You kind of need to know what you're looking at. Read over that property. Was the roof replaced? That's more for a buyer, but they need to know if there are going to be any additional fees as far as like HOA fees and things, if they were going to cover any lawn fees or things like that for yard care.
Right.
So I go in already kind of having a history on that property.
So moving that forward to Jessica today, and in a buyer sales situation, tell us what you would recommend. If you were doing a presentation at NEFAR in front of a bunch of new agents less than 6 months in the business, what were some of the things that you would tell them they need to do from this experience that you're talking about?
So do you mean just with showing property?
Yeah, just showing property. How you obviously, I imagine today, because you're not, wish you were selling 50, 60 homes a month, but you wouldn't have enough time in the day. But how you're prepping to the knowledge on these homes.
I think setting expectations is the best thing. Before I even go out with them, I tell them, hey, do you have 3 months rent? And we go over what is required on their end, because I can only help so much. So they need to know what's required on their end, so there's no surprises and no one's wasting their time. So definitely letting your client know what is expected beforehand. Have you had your job for 2 years?
Right.
Oh, you just changed jobs. You just bought a car. Have you checked your credit? This is the requirements. Do you have a German Shepherd? We won't allow that. So just things like that when it came to leasing.
Right. So you're not bashful on your buyers today.
Oh no, yeah.
When it's because I've mentioned this numerous times on the shows, because over almost 20 years in this business, different agents have a different level of comfortability with what questions they're asking their clients.
Straight shooter.
Yeah, I was gonna say because being that leasing agent, you had to ask those questions.
To do that,
Yeah.
Yeah, I had to do that. I mean, everything is recorded with our conversation. So, there's no feelings. This is how it is.
Right.
And no one wants to waste their time. And I want to help, and I'm not helping if you don't know what's expected.
So, all right. This is just really interesting. So you gain this experience because that's expected of a leasing agent. Those questions asked because you're obviously you're renting out. You got to make sure they're good renters.
Yeah, and you're weeding through so
you've got a
people.
client that you got to satisfy. You're putting a quality renter in their home.
Right.
Now you fast forward to today. Is there a little different tack that you take?
There's so much competition with sales. So I tell them, this may not be the right time for you. We might need to wait 6 months.
Right.
But I do think people appreciate people being upfront with them, and I appreciate when people are upfront with me. So I do try to stay very transparent and upfront, and maybe, it might be off-putting in some case, but at the same time, I'm not doing them any favors if I'm painting a picture of like they don't need to do this or they can do that, and then they're disappointed in the long run.
I'm going to guess, without any knowledge whatsoever, your fallout from contract to close is very low.
Yeah, very low.
And, we talk to, being in the lending side, hey, you got to get your pre-approval done, right? We want to, that's like the basic thing, like, hey, you got to call a lender. So at least they could say they looked at your credit and they say your income and you could afford this payment or get approved with this payment anyway. The fact that you're doing so much up front, you're actually you're going beyond the pre-approval. You're digging into those other questions that when you actually make the offer, all those extra or possible pitfalls have already been exposed.
Right.
Yeah. And I think a lot of agents could learn from that. Because I think a lot of them are like, hey, we're out looking at homes. Oh, they want to make an offer. Can you give me a quick pre-approval? We can do that. That's not a problem. But you sound like you spend a little more time with them up front because of your past experience.
Yeah, I actually go over everything, what they're going to expect for home inspection cost. If there's a pool, the additional cost on that, the appraisal's cost that's going to come out of their pocket. And I said, before you move forward, this is going to cost you some money up front. You got the inspection, the appraiser, and then, you got to start getting homeowners insurance. So I go over that WDO cost. If that insurance the inspector doesn't cover that, so they can't be like, oh, I had no idea it was going to cost this much money.
Right.
You will not be surprised with me. I'm sure you know.
I want to work with Jessica. That is, but when they're under the gun, obviously making that, when they, make that offer, and it's, obviously the stress level goes up and then it's accepted and we're in motion. But by being so transparent, which was one of your terms that you use in your bio, being transparent with all that up front, when you actually sign the contract, it's just so much smooth because they're just, she told me I was going to have to give an appraisal and I was, going to have to do this or, that or the other thing. She already told me about that. I'm already prepared. No problem. Sign, keep moving. And it just goes so much smoother.
A lot of agents do have the buyer's guide, and I think that's great. But people get overwhelmed when they read things, and they don't even read it sometimes. I find that a lot. Most people don't even want to read it. So I'd rather spend the 15 minutes literally talking to you in your face and going over, these are the things that will be expected. And then it's been communicated. Yeah.
Because at that opportunity, they feel in a communication, they can ask clarifying questions.
Right. Yeah.
It's great to give them something to walk away with, so they physically have something in their hand. Maybe they can reference back to it, or they can read it and say, "Oh yeah, she said that, and it's in here." It just strengthens its credibility part. But I think that would be, if you were teaching a bunch of young agents. Or again, me talking to 250 some top agents in the area, foreshadowing expectations up front, and to take it from your past experience is really what I'm trying to drill down here to everyone. That past experience, you've moved forward and it's made your real estate career a little easier.
Definitely.
Yeah.
And I'm the same with sellers. I'm like, if you want to take a FHA or a VA, this rotted wood around here, you're going to have to pay for that.
Yeah.
So there's no surprise when we get our contract that now you have to pay $1,600.
So get it repaired now.
Get it repaired now, because I see it's going to be a problem.
Yeah.
And I don't know what else will come up, but just know you're really only going to be able to take cash or conventional if you don't fix that.
So I imagine the whole buyer broker agreement this past year being required. That wasn't a big thing for you.
No, not a big thing. And I really don't feel like I need to make people tied to me anyways. I'll make it good for a day if they want. I'm so confident that they'll want to stay with me that I don't have to lock them into a contract if I don't want to. But
were you before August 17th, or before when you started picking up actually officially doing, having them sign the buyer broker agreement, do you often try to do a sit down or a Zoom with them in a buyer consultation, basically?
We'll meet somewhere and we can talk it over, but I never had them sign anything prior to August 17th. But
right.
We would definitely say, hey, when can we meet? I can meet both of you and your husband, or come over and talk to you if it's a matter of listing their home, or if they're looking to buy, let's meet at a coffee shop and talk for an hour.
Right. And I imagine you've probably tweaked that over the years. You've gotten better at it. But obviously coming from the leasing world, you having those conversations, you had, as you used earlier, confidence and just having that conversation with them. Yeah.
Yeah, because it's just the way business works. So there's really nothing to beat around the bush about. and everybody's happier when they know what to expect.
Yeah. Well, when you're in that situation where I imagine you get calls, as every agent does occasionally, from someone they don't know. Maybe they saw your review on Realtor.com or something like that, and or someone maybe referred you, but they're still looking at other agents.
Yeah.
Do you find when you say, hey, all right, let's sit down and chat a little bit, by the time that conversation's over,
they're picking me hands down. Yeah, hands down, they're picking me.
Yeah. So if there's another great tip right there, and I'm sure for the listeners, reach out to Jessica, ask her what she's doing, and even take you out to coffee or lunch, and what that conversation consists of, and how you're doing it, so they can gain some confidence in it, because that is the way. And I've heard it numerous times. I've seen it. Where the agent who's willing to go out and have that little consultation, ask some questions, so they make sure they're putting them in the right home, or they're because even the people selling their home, they have goals too, not just, hey, I want to sell the home. There's other little attachments to that. So we were just talking about buyers. Tweak it over to the listing side. What are some of your techniques there that you do when you're going into a listing appointment, with some strategies that you have when you're
well, when I go to a listing appointment, I'm not just straight business. I want to talk about their family. I want to know them personally in a way where it's like, what are you planning on doing after this? And, what did you love best about your home? And what about your neighbors? I want to kind of get more familiar with them on a personal level as well. Part of my presentation is I do, share what I offer. And, with my brokerage, we offer so much. We put you in the Distinctive magazine. That's in all the gate gas stations along Hodges, San Pablo, and 3rd Street, all in the gate gas stations. We're at all 4 clubs where you have exposure with the magazine. And marketing material is going to be placed in the home when I sell it. I think with our exposure at Ponte Vedra Inn Club, with how many people we have traveling there, we have so many walk-ins, people wanting to buy investment properties, and your home is just being shouted out everywhere, whether it's through the magazine, whether it's through the screens throughout the clubs. So I share all that, and basically me being a local, I've born and raised here, I know this area like the back of my hand. I know what your home's worth, and I pretty much know everybody in every neighborhood. And with my group that I've created, I shout all my listings there. So
awesome! Yeah. So you actually expose them that you're part of this group of 5,200 women in the region.
The group, so I will approve my post because it gets deleted in other groups. So yes, my listings are shown there.
Right. I think someone looking on the outside, maybe not a real estate agent or a newer real estate agent, the fact that sellers sometimes do have some sort of need strategy. I don't know how you want to describe it, but you got to kind of pull that out of them, right? A little bit, kind of the basic question is, hey, what do you want to walk away with, right? After you sell the home, you've got your closing costs, the real estate agents are commissioned. What am I, that's the obvious thing you're trying to figure. But some of them, you really want to dig in, like, how, it may be important, are they looking to sell this in the next 30 days, or they're really not in a rush? So, when it comes to pricing strategies and so forth like that, how do you go through that?
One of the things that I find helps me so much is if I offer a net sheet with 3 different prices, a high, medium, and low, and I show that net sheet to them, and they can see line by line what they're going to be taking home afterwards, and what's being taken out, so they know what they're going to be receiving once they close. And that helps me with negotiations as far as like, okay, this is your bottom dollar because you know how much you're getting now. And there's no surprise. I don't like surprises. So everybody knows what they're getting. So that's what I always bring. Well,
at the end, they expect it and they see it. Oh, that's about what you told us.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So then, there's nobody upset. So I really think the net sheets help a lot. And I ask too, how do you feel if we don't get a showing in 2 weeks? Are you going to be willing to drop it? Are we going to drop it? And if they say no, then I know they're not as motivated, and we just have to see, how long they want it to sit, because when it's priced high and you keep dropping, it looks like something's wrong with it. And I always tell them that, it's better to be accurate when we go out on the market as a new listing.
Right.
Yeah.
All right. So today you're going out on a listing appointment. For those who are listening, whenever you listen to this, it's basically the end of February 2025. The current market, we've got a lot of inventory is still growing. We're probably easily 3 times what we were 18 months ago in standing inventory. Someone told me the other day that condos in St. Augustine are basically at a year's worth of inventory now there. So when you're going in now and you're having that specific conversation about, all right, how are we going to price the home? And you've got someone that says, they're looking hopefully within the next, we'll say 60, 90 days to be out of this house. How do you present them, in a strategy to price it?
Yeah, I think it's really important to show them what's been sitting too.
Mm-hmm.
Having your comp sheet ready with the active. I have some water down here with the active listings and how long they've been sitting. This one may have gone under contract, but it's at 90 days, and look, they dropped it twice, and so I can tell you a lot of people already know, though. When I go to a listing appointment, they know, like, oh, that home was gone in 30 days and it was priced way lower than I want to go, they'll say, or something like that.
Right.
So this day and age with social media and with, access to internet like they have, like they kind of know when I go in there.
Right. If they're paying attention.
Yeah, a lot of them are. When they're about to sell it, they really have some kind of insight on what's going around in their neighborhood for the most part.
Going back to my early days out of college, which is almost about as old as you are, not quite, but close. I was working at a Chrysler car dealership, and it was the minivans. And obviously, everyone had Consumer Reports and had all the reports. That was the hot minivan at the time, and so forth. These people you're talking about. So if an agent's listening right now and they're going out on one of these listing appointments, and you notice right away, this person has actually some knowledge of their neighborhood, what is sold recently, kind of explain, like, how do you approach that person in a gentle way, because they have knowledge and you don't want to insult them or tell them they're wrong. They may be wrong, but you got to be very careful.
People that are wrong,
but don't be intimidated by them. You still want to be the professional.
Right.
Yeah.
I just show them, we just go back to what is currently on the market. I send them a list. I'll bring my laptop and say, look, this one's sitting in priced at this point, and it's not moving. So we have to go with what the market is saying, and the market's saying that would be too high of a price. And I always tell them, if you want to try it, you are the owner. If you want me to list it at this price, I will do it. But are you willing to drop it if we don't get a showing or two? Because I'm investing too. I'm marketing. I'm spending money on your
reputation
and your real and it's my reputation. And so I need to know where you're at. And honestly, sometimes it's not a good fit. And I would say to new agents, that's okay.
Yeah.
It's okay to not have a good fit with every person. Because some people do need to learn that not every agent's going to be desperate to take on something and then get put around the real craziness.
There are some homes that are selling in a weekend. I never asked this question before, but I was just thinking about it. I mean, when you go out there and you've got that hot house that it's going to get, it's got the 3-car garage. Like if you're in St. John's Golf and Country Club, we were talking about earlier, if you got a 3-car garage in there, it's going to sell pretty quickly, because that is one of the most desirable things that people want amongst, if it's got a pool too and all the other things. It's going to, at any price point that it may be at, depending on its size of the home, when you know that you're going to get a lot of traffic and probably 3, 4, 5 offers through the first initial weekend, because it's just the perfect home that everyone's looking for. How do you price it just slightly below and hopefully get an escalation clause, or how do you attack that?
I always have that conversation with the seller too, because I've had where we did get a home sold within 72 hours and they thought it was priced too low. So sometimes with people in general, you can't please them if it's too quick or too long.
Hindsight's 20/20, right?
So I always have them part of that conversation. This is an option where we could go a little bit lower, knowing we're going to get a lot of traffic and possibly multiple offer situation. Are you willing to do that, or do you want to start higher and see where we go? I am the professional, but I also don't want them to feel that they don't have any say.
Yeah,
because
it's your way, the highway.
Don't like that. Yeah, they want to say, "Hey, I'm still the owner," and so I think just laying out the options and letting them decide. is better.
But having that plan B, so to speak, hey, it's been listed now for 2 weeks. We don't have any showings.
Yeah.
Remember we talked about plan B in the beginning?
Yeah,
Are you ready to
I
implement
just
it?
follow up. I mean,
Yeah.
each week I give all my sellers an update. Hey, we've gotten one call, no calls this week. How do you feel? Let's go ahead and drop it 10,000, or I'm thinking this is going to be the price point we need to put it at to get more traffic.
What's your opinion? Are open houses really hot right now? In other words, are they actually getting the traffic they need?
I have made some really good deals off of open houses,
Wow.
and I would say it's
That's
all
good.
about the neighborhood. All about the neighborhood. There's certain areas of town that open houses are not going to do you any good. Open houses in Nocatee, Shearwater, Rivertown, neighborhoods where there's a lot of activity going on, tend to be the best neighborhoods for it. So really, it just depends on the neighborhood.
Yeah.
For an
Yeah.
open house, yeah.
I want to talk. I prepped you for this earlier. We talked about grit. I think every real estate agent has a level of grit, especially if they've been doing it. You've been in the real estate business for a dozen years. You've experienced different angles of it, which makes you just so dynamic there. But the grit to persevere, because we've all have, when you're dealing with people, sometimes that's an issue, just dealing with hard people, which I think dealing with renters I don't know, is buyers more difficult than renters? I don't know. What do you
I would say renters are pretty difficult.
Can be, right?
Yeah.
But I call it the LLC. So there's three parts to this grid. I think it's if you've been in real estate, you're moving on in real estate, you're growing in real estate, you have a level of grit and perseverance to continue on. But I think one of the key components is love. Why do you love real estate?
I love real estate because it allows me to support my family. With my kids, I can pick them up from school. If they're sick, I can bring one with me. And I love that flexibility because I love being a mom and I don't want to miss out on things with my kids. So that is why I love real estate. And each day is different. It's not boring at all. Each day is different.
But it's not easy for those, especially for someone who's coming from a very structured environment, a corporate America,
Right.
9-to-5 structure. You have to have some discipline.
Yeah, you have to be very disciplined and manage your time really well because it can get pretty crazy and you don't want to forget important things. So keeping track of things and having a notepad where you can write things down if you're driving, make a note to do that when you get back to the computer or just staying really organized with your time is really important when you're running your own business.
Right.
I mean, you have to be a lot of things. You have to be, informed and educated and organized and confident, but
Yeah, no one's saying you're late. At 9 o'clock, you don't show up. That no one's there to say, "Hey, you were late," and put a little pressure on you. You might lose your job. There's no one there. That's you. You are your
yourself to blame.
Yeah. And speaking of notebooks, there's a nice notebook in the bottom of that
good. I
bag
love a notebook.
from the bank there.
Okay.
That leather-bound book for you there. So love is the first part. Laughter is the second. And I prepped you for this one because a lot of people get thrown off. You've had, the trials and tribulations of dealing with renters, just dealing with people in any sort of industry. People can get you down.
Yeah.
Let alone the obstacles we have in real estate, in a sales process, whether it's an appraisal or a lending issue or home repairs. And then there's negotiations. There's all these different things that can, punch you sometimes and knock you down. Share with us a time where, you really might have been just like really hit back, maybe like really questioned yourself. Is real estate really what I want to do? And then, what did you do to overcome that and continue?
So there's been many times where I've questioned things because I've transitioned from so many different aspects of real estate and having to relearn different parts of it and rebrand myself. So I would say there's been multiple times. One of the times would be helping a really good friend buy a house, and it was probably my worst transaction because nothing I did was good enough because they looked at me more as a friend than somebody who was a professional, and they apparently knew more than me. So I lost a friendship in that, and what I learned is I can only do my best, and being very transparent, which is why I'm like, well, what I learned from that is I should have set better expectations in the beginning. So that would be, I'm not a quitter. So I definitely think you just have to go back to your why in life and keep going, because in anything you do, there's going to be obstacles, anything you do.
Right.
Yeah.
Our jobs is, I mean, the reason why a lot of us have jobs is to solve problems. Someone has an issue or a problem, whatever you want to describe it, and our job is to help them solve it.
Find a creative way to come to a solution.
Right.
Yeah.
That brings up a very interesting topic, which I imagine agents run across a lot of times. Some of them have worked with friends and don't, have any issues. I know from a lending side, I have friends that won't do loans with anyone else, but yet there's others who don't want, because maybe, they got their personal information and they want to keep it, and that's fine. I don't fret over it.
Right.
And I often tell them, I said, if you don't want me to do it, at least allow me to refer you someone to do it, so I know you're being taken care of. Because I think, would you agree, one of the important things, especially dealing with your sphere, is that you have to understand you are a good real estate agent. You know what you're doing. And if a friend or family member is out there going to do through a real estate transaction, you want to be the person, because you want to make sure they are served.
Yeah, I want to do my best by them. I treat every transaction like it's happening for me. So I truly, truly care, and I will give what I can to make it go through, because I want so bad to do right by you. But there was one situation where this friend, nothing I did was good enough. So that was really disappointing, and that person wouldn't have treated any other agent the way I was treated. But because we had a friendship,
personal,
it would really crossed a lot of lines. So that kind of is a little traumatic to me, because I've helped a lot of friends since then, and I'm like, they were so nice. So I was like, it wasn't me.
Do you? Well, I imagine, part of the grit is that you're looking back at that situation, which obviously the story came right to you, and you shared it with us. That did you? I think we all, after every one of your transactions, you go back and review what you did. Where were some high points? What were possible some low points that maybe you could have avoided, to give the ultimate customer satisfaction? Is there anything you look back at that and say, did I cut a corner? Did I do something? Was there something that you still reflect on?
I thought of that situation so many times, and there's nothing I could have done any better. Not one thing. And I am very self-critical. So I would definitely be like, oh, I kind of dropped the ball there. But I'm telling you, there's no other agent that would have bent over so far like I did for these people. And
they wanted more and more from you. Consistency. So with the LLC, what are you doing? And I always preference this question. Maybe it's evolved over time. But today, with today's market, what are something that you're doing consistently, whether it's daily, weekly, I don't know if it's a marketing campaign or you do personally, that you feel is kind of like a cornerstone to your business, and you're going to do that every day, week, or whatever?
Consistently, I said follow up. Consistently, I track everybody that's been introduced to me, who has even mentioned anything about real estate at one point, whether it was 6 months ago or last week, and it was just a brief conversation. Consistently following up, networking, saying yes to things, joining groups, and putting yourself out there. It's really hard to put yourself out there, but if you don't, you're not going to get anywhere. So, telling yourself you can do hard things, you can be uncomfortable. That's how you grow.
Right.
So consistently, I am uncomfortable. Consistently. I am uncomfortable consistently. Finding something that makes me uncomfortable that I can overcome.
Are you uncomfortable today with the podcast?
Yes.
Yeah. A lot of people are.
Yeah. But that's my way
Some
of
tell
life.
me, some don't.
No, I'm transparent. I told you, Tracy, I'll tell you.
No,
the
you're
truth.
doing very well, though. This is a great show. Because I tell people, after about 30 seconds or so after I do the intro and I welcome you and you get the first words out, it's kind of like speaking in front of a group of people. As soon as you get the first couple sentences out, it starts to flow a little easier.
And I hate speaking in front of a group of people, but I do it every month. I'm in a BNI. I speak in front of that. I speak in front of hundreds of women every month. So yes, being consistently uncomfortable, you will grow.
I think, we talked about people getting into the business, and I think a lot of agents fail because they're not entering it in the right way. You were fortunate enough that you actually had some alternate real estate experience, if I want to call it, versus what you're doing now, retail real estate. You had family in the business, so you kind of had an idea of what's going on. So you kind of knew what was around the corner, or maybe imagine you went to them and say, hey, what do I need to learn, or these I think one of the greatest experiences, I think, is just showing the housing for leasing, and now you're showing houses for buying, and it's just comfortable for you. You just tweaked it a little bit, and you're probably always getting better at it. But for those who are listening, those agents that are right now who might be less than 3 years, maybe they're still in it, but they're not really blossoming. They're maybe they only done a half dozen sales or so forth. They're not doing, they're not making Jack's Real Producers or things like that. Yeah. What are some things that you would recommend that they do? Because my feeling is they don't have that brokerage that's giving them the support, or sometimes you have the brokerages that, I'll just use Keller Williams because I know they give a lot of support, a lot of training. Just showing up to the training classes is great, but it's not actually going to get you a deal. Yeah. What is that step that you think they should be taking or looking for?
I have realtor friends that ask me, oh, you grew this group, and how do you stay so busy? Where are you getting your referrals? Mm-hmm. I tell them all the time, start a bunco at your house, or start a walking group in your neighborhood. I do that too. Mm-hmm. Do whatever you're good at, start something with a group. I teach watercolor classes, and I get 17, 20 different women. They bring their friends, and it's a good way for me to get to know people without talking about, if you have real estate need. They start to get to know me that way. Follow anybody on Instagram that is a realtor. Start looking at their posts and start focusing on the things that they're sharing on social media, and learn from them. Take it and tweak it and put your face on it.
Right.
That's the way to really start, is finding ways. I have a sign in my front yard that says "Your Trusted Realtor," and I have gotten deals of people just walking by.
Your trusted realtor lives here.
Oh yeah, your trusted realtor. I'm like, I will find some way to let you know that I do real estate, and we will have a creative group event, whether it's bunco, paint party, a walking group. Yeah.
Brilliant. Was your intentions when you started the St. John's BFF? Mm-hmm. That was your to network. I mean, that's what you do as a real estate agent. You're networking all the time.
Yeah, you got to have your name out there. But you have to put yourself out there. And I was getting deleted from all these other groups. They didn't like me posting, whether it was my business or not. So I thought, we have to make a group, and in my group
that's friendly to that.
Yes, and so there's so many realtors in my group. You are free to post in my group. Mm-hmm. I'm not deleting your post when you're trying to support your family. So it was a need, and that's why it's grown so quickly. We all want to support each other. A lot of other realtors will come to me, and I want to help them too. I want to be lifting others up.
What are some of your, just to go back to the BFF and the networking part of it, what are some of the other businesses that are really bought into what you're doing? I imagine there's probably a core group of ladies who are, network besides real estate agents. What are some other businesses that are?
We've got doctors in there, chiropractors in there, magazine producers in there, hair people, makeup people. Mm-hmm. We've got Botox people. Anybody you can think of, we have in that group.
So of that list of people, those professions that you just listed there, every one of them has to see multiple people a day, every day. Mm-hmm. That they're chit-chatting, getting their hair done, getting their makeup done, even at the chiropractor. They're having soft conversations. Hey, what's going on? What are you doing? Real estate comes up. Got to call Jessica.
Yeah, I've gotten quite a few referrals from that group. And like I said, I don't believe in limitations. I'm abundant thinking. So having other realtors in there is not a problem. I had a realtor who invited tons of her friends, and actually one of them said, please don't post this in the group. Message me, but I want you to help me. But I was invited to the group by my realtor friend. So that's happened before. And I don't think everybody people will find their people.
Yeah.
So I'm confident enough to know if somebody finds somebody they want to work with, I'm not going to lose sleep over it, but I know what I have to offer.
With 5,200 people in there, I would imagine that spins off quite a bit of, in general, directly or indirectly within the group to every agent involved. There's a lot of referrals. If we counted every referral, you put 5,200 ladies together who are obviously network oriented. They're talking to their friends. Oh, so and so said they were looking to sell their home. You need to call that agent. You know, they're referring people all over the place because they are in the wanting referrals themselves.
We have our own page, preferred vendor page, and we only will use each other for. We want a balloon thing made for an event. We want to use somebody's restaurant. We've got restaurant owners in there. So we all really want to just work with each other.
It's just amazing, and I to put a group together like that is just yeah. I want to go into some specifics of the business and kind of what you do, because obviously you have this huge sphere now. You have 5,200 people in that sphere, minus the other agents. Right, you're not marketing to them, but maybe you never know. People fall out of this business all the time for all different reasons, you know. So, but from a marketing standpoint, what are some of the staples that you do? You've mentioned social media and stuff, but is there anything that really is your bread and butter outside of obviously the networking things? Because you're doing a lot of that. But some of the do you do newsletter? Are you sending mailers out? What are some things that you do?
I don't do that. I used to do that where I would send an email out. But I really find just being present with people and having time and being responsive. When they reach out to me, I respond to them. Hey, I'm in the middle of a showing. Can we talk in like a few hours? And they feel heard. I don't wait hours to respond. Even if I'm busy, I'm very responsive. Yeah. I do a custom watercolor painting of each of my sales, whether it's a home that they sold or bought. If they didn't like the home they sold for whatever reason, I will paint their pet. If they don't have a pet, I will do a painting of whatever they like. Jesus, it doesn't matter.
Right.
I will do a painting, and that way it is signed by me and framed on their wall. And when someone says, "Oh, I love that. Who did it?" "Oh, it was actually my realtor." So it's nothing they ate or used up money. It's a painting on their wall, and add a basket of other things. But that is
a heart felt touch there, and then they know you spent some time. Yeah. I think emotion is creating emotion is to me creates the memory. It could be laughter, it could be just when you get emotions out of people, that's when you plant it.
Them. Yeah, you really connect with them when you get emotions, and you find something they're passionate about, and you lean in on that.
The regular sphere, your past clients and so forth, are you anything specific that you're doing to them on a regular basis that may not be part of your other groups that just are past clients?
Past clients, whether they were renters that I've stayed in touch with, I'm really heavy on social media with Instagram. So just reaching out to them, liking their posts, commenting their posts, seeing that Jessica's looking at my stuff or whatever. Staying connected in that way is really easy too, because people are scrolling on their feeds all the time. And when you start getting where you're communicating back and forth with them, that's kind of creating a relationship nowadays through social media. And that goes pretty far. So just commenting on people, past clients is, "Oh my gosh, congratulations, you're having another baby." Just doing those things mean a lot to other people.
I think that's one area where a lot of people miss out on social media. Social media is made to be social. Yeah. I love that line. And some people pay virtual assistants to actually respond as if they're them, because the more you're responding to their post, "Hey, oh my God, that was a beautiful event you had," or whatever, putting in that one sentence, just say this should be more than like 4 or 5 words. They say
they say within the first 30 minutes.
Putting those posts. So spending that time each day to go in there and do that, or obviously pay a virtual assistant to make those comments. Again, keeping you top of mind.
Yeah, we have a virtual assistant that does that for our St. John's BFF Instagram. But for my real estate one, it's me. So I definitely will spend a few minutes just going through people and like, "Oh, I need to check in. Let me leave a comment on there." Yeah. And that I find is a lot more beneficial than mailers, in my opinion, with my sphere. That goes a lot further.
We post stuff on social media, and we wonder who's looking at it. So if they're commenting, who looked at it, right? And so if you start to, obviously what is our goal? To have raving fans, right?
Yeah, and they'll start commenting on yours. If you kind of open that relationship up of communicating through there, they will. Yeah.
100%. Because I've had agents actually respond, because obviously I'm on there all the time with the show and everything, and so I'm responding. And I found there's agents who they may not be a top producer who I feel is at the level to bring on the show yet, but they want to communicate because I see that obviously I'm putting out value in what you're sharing today, and then they actually start responding. So then I show up at an event, they're like, oh my God, they feel now they know you, even though we haven't actually personally met yet, type of thing. What do you think has been one of your greatest challenges for you personally, besides I think everyone needs the health issues that you overcome? That's just amazing that in your life there, but just in the business, because I don't think anyone's perfect at real estate. Right. Some people are shy and they have to overcome that. Or you were talking about public speaking, but you personally, some of the challenges that you've encountered and you've found a way just to get better at it.
I would say one of the biggest challenges I still have is balancing work and mom life. It's really hard because, you want to be that agent that's like on top of their game, responding as quickly, or they have the answers. And sometimes you're like, oh, I didn't get the answer yet, but I'm working on it. And, you're a mom, and you have kids that are sick or whatever, and you're trying to juggle that. So I think that's something that's across the board with most moms, and that is a challenge that I face. And my kids are older now, but they still are need things. So that would be my challenge is just trying to keep a healthy balance between the two. I tend to overwork, and I will respond at 10, 11 o'clock at night. I'll get out of bed and be like, oh, I got to do that right now because I can't even wait till tomorrow morning or I won't sleep.
Right.
So that's my problem is I will work too hard to the point where I will sacrifice my personal life or with my kids' time and things like that. So that's my challenge.
So what are some of the things you do to put that in or check or keep that balance?
I really just have to keep telling myself, you'll be fine, write it down on a notepad, because I love my notepads.
When you got a vacation, hey, we're going to go to Disney World for the weekend or whatever it is.
Oh, get the busiest on vacation.
Well, yeah, exactly. If the phone's not ringing, go on vacation, leave town, and then all of a sudden, before you even get out the driveway, it'll start ringing. Do you kind of block time? And when you, sometimes if you are away or you mentioned a cruise, do you have someone you confident that you can hand off, to take some of your calls at Ponte Vedra?
I will even go to the point of putting an agent on as a co-listing and splitting my commission, because if I'm going on vacation, I have worked on vacation for years. Most of my career, I've always been working on vacation. And now that the kids are getting older and seeing me on my phone a lot, I try to say, I will put a co-agent on my listing. They can handle it because I plan a vacation next month. So with this listing, I'm putting somebody on it. And I always have the same person I put on all my listings. So that's if I know I'm planning vacation. I'll have an agent on there to take care of it.
One of the challenges I think is agents do as they grow and get busy, there comes a level where I call it hitting the lid. And at some point you need to leverage. In this case, you're going on vacation. You need to have that teammate or someone that's going to cover you when you're out of town, however that may be. But from the standpoint of the transaction, a transaction coordinator or assistant, everyone has their opinion on which way to go. Have you reached that level?
I do have a transaction coordinator. Yeah. And she's great.
Did you always have one?
No, I used to do it myself. Just this past year, I put her on with the BFF growing and me managing networking and all of our events and then clients. I really don't have time to sit in front of a computer and make sure each doc is signed. I need to have a transaction coordinator that I trust. And she knows more than I do just about on everything. So I love her and I will not go without her.
Yeah. Have you noticed, just in the brief period of time that you've had her now, has your business grown? Have you seen a little movement? Obviously we're battling the headwinds of the market too, but have you been able to spend some more quality time, or in this case, you're spending more quality time because the BFF group is a network marketing. It's part of your business, really. That's how you've grown it. But giving you the ability and actually move the needle for your business.
Yeah, it's actually, my business is getting busier. I'm getting a lot more referrals, and I'm able to really maintain it and not be stressed because I can have a transaction coordinator help me with those things that I don't need to be by a computer sitting down. I need to be out with the clients.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Looking over your shoulder. They know that thing's going on. You're focused on your event.
I can just check the email and say, hey, that needs to be fixed. To call back, she can fix it. I don't need to go back home and do it.
How much is she doing for you? What's your process to the handoff?
She's very hands-on from the time we're under contract. When we're under contract, she's reaching out to them, talking about when our closing is and when the loan approval deadline is. So she is she is reaching out with emails and text, and I'm on those things as well, but she starts from the time we're under contract.
Pay for play, or is this someone you're actually employing?
Just per deal.
Per deal.
She's only on per deal.
Through Ponte Vedra, or just an outside transaction?
An outside transaction.
Because a lot of agents obviously have that control.
And their brokerage, not mine.
Well, yeah, no, but no, just they want to control. They've been doing it all themselves, and then they reach this lid. And they may go years hitting the lid because they're like, oh, someone told me their transaction coordinator screwed a deal up, or you've screwed deals up.
Yeah.
To step out, what would you? Someone asked the question that I asked another realtor. I said, hey, should I get a transaction coordinator? I'm doing this many deals. What would your response be?
I would definitely say yes. Make sure that she's experienced in it. It was hard for me at first. I still found myself doing a lot of the things, and she was like, "Oh, I'm supposed to do that. Wait a minute, no, I'm supposed to do that." I'm like, "I'm sorry, I can't help it."
Yeah.
So I was like scheduling things, and it took me some time to kind of like trust her. And I think that's something you can do in the beginning is say, "Hey, I'm comfortable with slowly giving you a little bit more responsibility until I feel comfortable." But everyone makes mistakes. So I always feel like, if she's looking, I'm reading over what she's sending. I'm not just solely leaving everything with her. I have eyes on it, and I'll call her and be like, hey, that's not correct. And she'll fix it.
I think let's train my thought there. We were talking earlier about, setting expectations for your buyers and sellers and how important that is. Would you agree when you this relationship with a transaction coordinator, virtual, whatever they want to do, whatever thing they're doing, is you actually really need to sit down and set expectations with each other of who's doing what, and then when they're doing that thing for you, what you expect. Because I would bet they're just, I got a transaction coordinator, and they just send them a contract and it's willy-nilly. Because I think everyone has a different vision of what a transaction coordinator should be doing.
Yeah, and I know with a few agents that their transaction coordinator does different things, and and it just goes back to having that expectation, which we did. I told him, like, what is it you're comfortable doing, and what would you like me to do, and is this an area that you're comfortable doing in this part of the thing, and if not, I'll do it. But she knows what she's doing, and we have a very good relationship. She's now a very good friend of mine now. Yeah.
And that bond has made things so much easier because you feel she's got your back all the time and not going to let. And she has a buy-in into your business. All right, I want to finish up with this. Me being a lender, let's talk about listeners. Let's talk about the current market conditions we got right now. What I'm seeing, we're still 50% still cash. Are you seeing that kind
there's still quite a lot of cash.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Investment, or even on the primary homes? What in your business? Were you seeing that money?
Last month I had quite a few investors reaching out to me, but recently I'm getting people that just have some extra funds that they're hoping to buy investment property with, and so they're not cash. That's kind of my experience right now. They like the idea, but then they're kind of like teetering on it, because everyone's a little concerned with how the market's going or the rates and things like that.
Yeah.
It is picking up though.
I think I think it's, I think people have a little different confidence going into this year.
I think so.
I don't think we foresee any great, but I personally believe, I keep saying, if we start to see a 5.875, 6% interest rate, we're going to have a frenzy there, because people are going to feel like, because that's when I started the business in 2005, right up until was Thanksgiving of 2008, when the rates started to really drop, the government started quantitative easing. The rates were really, if you hit 5.875, which was really rare, the rates were between 6.25% and 7%. You'd see it fluctuate for those 3 years. That was the first 3 years I was in the business. You were in there, and if you were able to get 5.875 on a 30-year fix, it was like, oh my God, And I think that attitude is going to come.
And then they start paying overpriced the sale price, and you have the bids again, the multiple offers and things.
I don't know why my TV's got that thing up there. All right, good, got it. What are you seeing? What buyers want today? And I want you to, if you can answer it in a question. So, you're seeing what the buyers want. How are you taking that over and prepping your sellers to create that?
Yeah, that's been a little difficult because buyers are wanting to come in a lot lower than asking price that they see, and they want all the things like the updates
They have the
and the roof.
market's going to collapse
They have
attitude.
the market, and they want the roof to be new. They want the AC to be new. They want the updated cosmetic things, and maybe they'd love a pool in the backyard, and they still want to come in, much lower than listing price. And then you have the sellers that are like, well, this is already as low as it's going to be, and this is how much I bought it for. A lot of people who bought even during, a higher market that were wanting out of the neighborhood, they're hoping they'll have equity. And it's like, well, you only lived here for a year and a half. And even 2 years, I don't think I can get you, how much equity. You wouldn't have that much equity. I'm trying to explain that to them.
Yeah.
So this is a funny balance that we're walking right now, I think, between buyers and sellers and what they expect.
Yeah, I don't think it's a true buyer's market yet, but it's leaning that way.
I think so, yeah. And sellers don't want to accept that.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I think every agent has a listing in a neighborhood where there's still construction going on.
Yeah.
And they're sitting on that thing because
well, then you're competing against all the incentives with
exactly.
the builder. They're throwing money at the buyers, and so why would they buy a resale when they can get this with closing costs covered? So that's tricky too.
Well, I think agents have learned now, hopefully, when they're showing buyers, is the question is, how long do you see yourself here? Because if you only see yourself here a year or two, you do not want to buy new construction.
I do the same thing. Like, is this something you want to stay in 5+ years?
Yeah. It's got to, the neighborhood's got to be finished. From a lending standpoint, are you seeing any challenges there? The down payment assistance programs are coming in and out. We've got one right now with Federal Home Loan Bank where they are giving a $15,000 grant, which is great. Florida Housing's, they're out of money right now. There's no Hometown Hero.
I had somebody that I had 2 of them that got really good with the Hometown Hero program, but nothing recent with that. The loan, I'm not having too much trouble with getting approvals. I am getting some pushback on things with the loan not going through if, certain wood rot and things like that were coming in play with sellers not wanting to do it and things like that. And I represent the buyer, so I couldn't have helped the seller understand this beforehand. So I'm like, oh, agents, please tell your people.
Well, that's a great negotiation because, you can flip some of the, now depending on how much we're talking about. I mean, we're talking a few $1,000s. It's not worth doing. It's worth solving, right?
Yeah.
Versus something where, hey, this is going to cost 10 or 20 grand to do, flip them to a renovation loan.
Yeah. Renovation loan for sure.
Do a renovation. Now, obviously, there's some expenses to some of those type deals, some extra additional couple $1,000s. But if you are looking at $10,000, $20,000, $30,000 worth of repairs, then because I think people lose the reality of there's only one address. That house is sitting on that lot, and if it's got the right school, it's on the right, you're in the right cul-de-sac that you wanted. Yeah, there's only one house like that. So if you have to do some stuff to get it, because you do see yourself in there 5, 10, whatever, your kids are going to grow up and here in this house, you might have to do some juggling because there's only.
The conversation I've had is, we've looked at many homes, and this is the spot you want to be in. So it's probably worth just doing a few of those repairs yourself.
Right. Have you were talking about the investors. Have you done a DSCR loan?
I've not.
Yeah.
No.
Do you know how it works?
Not really.
It's a very simple concept. The bank statement loans and the DSCRs, I kind of put them in the same category. And they're the people that are doing now. Your brokers, we do them as the bank. We outsource it, basically. We broker it out because there's this handful of companies that the average consumer doesn't know because they're basically equity lenders. I mean, you're paying a higher interest rate because they're only looking at your bank statements. Or in this case with the DSCR loan, it's simply, hey, what is the mortgage payment going to be? Because you got to put money down. It can't be, you're not a first-time home buyer with 3% down isn't doing a DSCR. You're going to want 20-30% down. They're equity lenders, and they're going to look at that and say, okay, you got a decent credit score. You're putting 20 or 30% down, whatever that number is. So they've got there's equity there in case you default. And then what is the going rent? And if that going rent can cover that mortgage payment, they're in. And then the only thing they're pulling is your credit, but they're not looking at your debt. They're not asking about your job or anything like that. You pretty much could be unemployed.
What's the rate on
You were looking, depending on where their credit is and how much they're putting in down, you're looking at probably high sevens to low 9%.
Okay.
Just
Okay.
depends on where they fall.
Yeah.
I had someone back in December. They were a sub 700 credit score. They really, I think 660 is the minimum credit score on that. You're really going to get hammered on an interest rate with
Yeah.
that. But if you got someone who got great credit and they're putting 20-30% down, you maybe get an 8% interest rate, but the interest rates on a 30-year fixed are high 6-7% anyway right now. So if you think about it, I'm not really documenting anything.
Right.
And the bank statement loans, I've been amazed how easy those are for those who have good cash flow. You upload their 12 months business bank statements, and they're like, "Yep, here's the income."
That's it.
And they,
Yeah.
generally within a couple hours, the next morning they compute out and say, "We're going to give them this much for an income," and it's in. So.
Yeah, no, I've only had cash investors. We just recently bought a trailer park, which doesn't sound ideal, but they don't leave. And you have like 6 or 7 mobile homes on there, manufactured homes. That's a good source of income coming in for, an investment property.
Well, the affordable housing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they, people that live there, they don't hop around much. They find a place and they, it's consistent. So,
Right.
And they don't complain much about repairs and things. So I always look for those too for my cash investors.
Well, the gentleman who does the Bigger Pockets podcast, real estate podcast, he's big into that.
Yeah.
He's big into the manufactured home project, which I think, if you look at history of Florida and you go back to say like the 80s and early 90s, it was very popular, especially if you go down to Daytona. You'd have golf courses and they were manufactured homes. They were nice and they did a nice layout and everything and platform for them and everything. And we've gotten away with that because as money's come in, people are, willing to spend, for a fully structured house. But I think in some of these areas, especially with our, aging population, and just affordable housing.
Park, North Side, you can buy a property with like 5 or 6 mobile homes on it, and it's a good
investment.
Income,
So you've worked in that.
Yeah.
So you're a great resource for someone looking to do that, to dig in.
Yeah, and cash investor, and I sold their property, used that money, and moved it over to the the trailer park. And I hate to say trailer park like that, but it was.
Yeah.
It was.
Yeah. Jessica, I appreciate you coming on. Is there anything you'd like to add here?
Well, I'm just very grateful.